Please.
Good morning. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, Buddy and Bella say. They dressed for the occasion. They love having their bunny ears on, don't you, Buddy? Oh, so good.
Look at that face.
All right, there's a couple for you, Bella. Looks like pretty little fawn faces. There you go. Very nice. Good job, you two. Here's a couple for you, Valentino. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll go over to the car. You guys are being so good.
They are.
Good job. All right. All right, good job. Happy Easter. Let me take those off, buddy. Oh, but they look so cute. Yeah, you're going to keep it on a little longer? He says, as long as you're giving me treats, I'll keep my ears on. All right. Little guy over there. Okay. Okay, and then we'll take our ears off. Okay? Okay. All right. Happy Easter, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We just thought it's only once a year you get to put bunny ears on your dog, so we thought we'll have to do that. So, all right, that's their close-up. That's it for the close-up. Good job, buddy. Good job, Bella. All right. We'll put those ears over there. Well, we got a beautiful day for Easter, didn't we? Just really blessed. We had some chilly days this past week. I was so pleased to see it was going to be 70 degrees on Easter. So
That's good.
It's just a beautiful day and a beautiful time to come together for this special half hour. We have Linda McClanahan and Joel Knepp doing some songs for us this morning by recording, and we're joining them on one of those. So it's a treat to have their music with us on Easter, and it's a treat to have all of you with us. So as always, we just want to start with a little prayer, and if you hear dog vocalizing in the background, that's part of the prayerful experience here at our house. We want to lift everyone up in prayer today on this very special day. It's all about renewal and resurrection, coming back to life, emerging into new life for every one of us, for living beings across the globe. So we are united in that prayer this morning. So let's just start right out by closing our eyes and affirming that newness of God, that life in us, always renewing us, making all things possible. This wellspring of resilience, of ever-renewing strength, of steadying peace, of abiding love that comes direct from source and is with us always, making all things possible, renewing us day by day, turning us into new individuals, new selves, day by day. This is our day of celebration of that resurrecting power of God in us all. So we affirm this high truth for ourselves, for everyone in our communities, our families, our neighbors, people across the globe, living beings everywhere. We affirm the highest truth of all, the resurrecting power of God in our bodies, minds, and spirits. Always with us, unfailing, unconditional. We affirm that highest of all truths with gratitude in our hearts and our minds, knowing it is so. And so it is. Amen. Amen, amen. All right, we're going to prepare to hear a first song from Linda McClanahan and Joel Knepp, who have gotten real good at this recording business, haven't they, Joe? They sent us a few lovely recordings today, and this is a favorite of ours going way back. We used to do it at our Saturday chant quite a lot. Something Linda McClanahan adapted. It's called "There's a Healing Love," and we're going to see that now. Thank you, Linda and Joel.
Soothing
was wonderful. Thank you, Linda and Joel, for that beautiful song. There's a healing love, renewing us, always with us. That's really what we're celebrating on this Easter day. Our capacity to be renewed, our resilience, our resurrecting power that dwells in us because of our deep God connection. Every one of us, all living beings have it. And that was really the lesson of the Christ. I love this scripture, the words of Paul. This is from Ephesians 4, where he says, "Put away your former life, your old self. Be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and put on the new self, according to the likeness of God." Put on the new self. I love that. And it seems to imply that we have some role in it, in deciding that we can participate in this process of putting on the new self, of renewing and resurrecting ourselves. So that's what I wanted to look at a little bit in these few minutes this morning on this special Easter day. How do we do that? How do we participate in this mystery? Because there really is a great mystery to this resurrecting power in us and what it makes possible for us that we can't really explain or track, and yet it's happening all the time, and we have the opportunity to participate in it. And we really see it all the time. We're always putting on new selves. We always have. We are now. Everyone we know has been doing that quite regularly. I mean, every one of us know individuals who you learn some things about their past, old selves they were, and you can't believe it. That's where they were. That's who they were before. That was their experience before. That's how they lived before. I just started thinking in my mind of these remarkable individuals. A woman I know who was a victim of domestic violence, and she's now an empowerer of others and a motivational speaker. I was thinking of a man I knew who he was a dynamic and much loved teacher when I was teaching in colleges, and he had been an alcoholic. He had been sick. He had been in dire straits in the past. That was the old self until he put on the new one. Where does the power to do that come from? It's in us all. Lots of famous people we know too. I was thinking of an amazing writer who had been suffering from chronic, crippling depression and became a best-selling author, talking about Eckhart Tolle. I mean, there's lots and lots of stories, and I suspect in our own community this morning, some of us are thinking, well, I sure am not the same person I was 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, or I'm thinking pretty strongly this morning, even a year ago. Because it's been a challenging year, and sometimes in challenging times, that transforming power becomes even more active in us. So we're always putting on new selves. It's just that it's happening so gradually much of the time that we fail to track the miracle of it. We fail to track the miracle of the process that we're engaged in, this amazing resurrection process. So I kind of wanted to just reflect on that a little bit this morning and take a little bit of a scientific maybe perspective on it. More is always possible than we can imagine. One of my favorite writers, David Stendhal Rast, said, "God is the more. The more, that's God." And because of our deep God connection, that means more is always possible, more than we can see. And this goes right to the heart of some scientific theory that I've been interested in for years on emergence. Maybe some of you have done some reading in it as well. I've probably talked about it more than once. Some of you Unity of Delaware folks might remember some of these ideas. But emergence theory, it really crosses all kinds of boundaries. It's being developed in psychology, in biology, in zoology, in botany, even in things like urban design and systems design. The idea of how when new things emerge, how does that happen? What are the characteristics of emergence, and how do you participate in that process? Emergence just means something new arising with new properties, new characteristics, as a being or system adapts, grows, evolves. So it's for everything from beehives and ant colonies to the internet, to our own bodies, minds, and spirits. And I just love it when in scientific fields they begin to talk about things that you think, well, we call that God. we call that creative energy in us and how it operates in us, and the miracles of what that God energy in us makes possible. Scientists just different language for this miracle of resurrection. They talk about emergence, something new arising, new, unexpected, and what they think is behind that, they call it a self-organizing activity in all living beings and systems. Some kind of a self-organizing activity. Just another word for creative energy at work, I think, but same idea. A natural process going on all the time as we adapt and evolve and grow and become new again and again. So they kind of talk about several, primary like characteristics of emergence. When something new has emerged, these are the qualities it has. It has a radical novelty, a newness about it. It's not just the sum of its parts. You put this, and then you have something. No, it's like something completely new has arisen. Everything, that's kind of creative process. And as an example of that, for instance, they mentioned Tim Berners-Lee, who invented the World Wide Web. And I guess he started introducing that and working with that back in 89 or 90, I think is when that started. But he was just working on something so that he was a scientist himself. MIT, I think, was where he was. And something so researchers could share data. And of course, we got that out of the internet, but it became so much more, something completely new. A radical novelty with a life of its own. What emerged was a lot more than what went into it. Something radically new. Its second quality is that it's got a wholeness about it, a coherence. The new thing holds together and continues to grow and evolve. The third quality of something that's emerged is that there's a dynamic energy about it. There's an interplay of elements, synergy, if you will, some kind of there's evolution still going on as an interplay of all the elements in it, dynamic energy. And the fourth one is it's perceptible. You can see this new thing. It's quite real. You can't exactly track how this new thing emerged. It's too complex for that. But you can see it. You can see the new thing. You can see the new self. You can see the new system. So how do we work with it? If we want to work on our own evolution, if we want to come up a little higher or grow in some way and we want to participate in that, are there things we can do to help ourselves in our evolution, in our growth process? And I think there are. And I wanted to pull one main idea from this emergence theory that I think is really helpful to me as I think about continuing to grow and come up higher toward greater freedom and joy and greater release and expression of my creative energy. I find this idea helpful. We're always growing, and we participate in our evolution with every choice we make, with every step we take, with every decision we make. And it's often very small little adaptations and choices that wind up contributing to a big shift in our lives and in who we are and how we're living. And one of the ways they talk about how we put on the new self in this way through these little choices is that we explore the adjacent possible. This is from an emergence researcher named Stuart Kaufman. We participate in our emergence, putting on the new self, by bringing new things into our lives, by taking a look at nearby possibilities, the adjacent, quite near us, nearby possibilities, adjacent possible. And is there something there that we're guided to step into, to explore a little bit? And the energy of God in us is very likely propelling us a little in that direction. Are you getting some guidance to try something? Something a little new, something a little outside your box, but not far out, just a little bit. We tend to think of, transformation, becoming a new self as a big leap we take, a big shift. Maybe we'll go out to California and everything will be different, or we'll quit a job or a marriage or, whatever it might be, and everything will be different and we'll leap into a new self. But actually, evolution, our growth, into new selves happens more gradually than that, by these little steps and choices we make day by day as we explore the adjacent possible. And of course, the adjacent possible is always expanding. As we take one little step, then the view is different. And then there's other new steps to take. So you kind of keep stepping forward as you keep just exploring a little bit something that's near you. It seems like might be a good possibility for you to explore. One thing leads to another, we say, which is just a fancy way of saying we can't track it, but there's a growth process, some kind of mystery of evolution going on. And God is in the very midst of it, every step of it, nudging us toward these new possibilities, propelling us a little bit to choose them, to try them, to step outside our box a little bit. And I believe that's happening at all times and in all circumstances, even in a pandemic, even in circumstances that seem constrained in a lot of ways, it's still going on. God is always more, and there's more to explore and more ways to stretch and grow ourselves. And God will be guiding us in where it is and how to move forward on it. I thought I'd just share a couple stories about how this looks in the everyday. And of course, I was thinking in my own life of times like this. They're like turning point times. They're transformational times, pivotal times. And I was thinking of a time in my early 20s. I was in grad school. I was dealing with a lot of depression at that time. And by an odd little circuitous path, it happens that way sometimes, I was looking for a spiritual magazine my mother was looking for and couldn't find in the small town where she lived. And I went to one bookstore and then was guided to another, a church bookstore. And I wandered in there some Sunday to try to just buy a magazine at their little bookstore. And a meditation was in process, which I just glimpsed through an open door. And a minister was leading it, a circle meditation, and there was an air of peace about it that resonated with me. Got the magazine, left, but within days I was reflecting on that and thought, I think maybe I'll call that minister and find out a little bit more about that church and talk to him a little bit about it. Where did this idea come from? God only knows, we say. God only knows. But I followed up on it. A little uncomfortable at first. It's a little uncomfortable to go to a new church. You don't know what these people are going to be like. But I pushed myself a little bit, exploring the adjacent possible. And it was right. The guidance in me was right. And before too long, I was doing the church newsletter, and I was ushering, and I was selling books in that little church bookstore, and buying books for it. And I was serving on the church board, and I was leading meditation, and I was doing a lot of things that were clearly in a path toward what I'm doing now, too. How did that happen, that evolution? Where did that new self come from? A whole new set of friends, a whole new community, a whole new focus in my life. I put on a new self by these little choices to attend a new church. It's amazing what something can lead to as we just make these little choices each day. I was thinking, too, about, and I was asking Joe if he'd be okay to share some stories about his mom, Irene Lambert. I know some of you remember Irene, although she's been gone maybe 7 years now, something like that. She's gone on, but she lived to the ripe age of 99, a very dynamic life. And she certainly had more than one time of this exploring the possibilities and stepping out toward new selfhood in her life. And I was thinking particularly about the time right after her husband Max's death. And she was around 70 or early 70s at the time. Of course, she lost him much too soon. He had only just retired. They were planning a trip to Hawaii they didn't get to do together. And she went through that grief process, of course. But somewhere in the weeks or month or so, too, that followed, she got the idea that she may do some volunteer work. And she decided to check out volunteering at this cancer thrift store in Worthington, not far from where she lived. Here's the mystery. Where did that idea come from? God only knows, we say. where these ideas come from. Where does the energy that propels us to investigate these adjacent possibilities, where does it come from? Creative source in us. And it was right. She followed her guidance, and it was right. And a new circle of friends emerged for her that she began to socialize with a good deal. She enjoyed all the fun stuff coming in and out of the shop. Irene never met a knick-knack she didn't love. Right. And she took pride in the fundraising success the shop had for cancer research. And they began to travel together. I was asking Joe about it yesterday, what some of the trips they took. Went out to California a couple of times, she and friends, and took an Amtrak train ride up the California coast, went on a hot air balloon ride. She's in her 70s and doing these adventurous things. They took a trip to Hawaii. That trip she didn't get to do with Max, she took with friends, and they had amazing fun times together. Where did that new adventurous stuff, that new self, come from? It came from her, from the more in her, the creative energy in her, and she followed the guidance of God leading her in that path, and it led to a new self, radically new, coherent, whole. There's never any going back. You're new now. Once you've gone through one of these transformative, evolutionary stages, you're a new self now, new growth. You can't go back to where you were before. You can only go forward and keep evolving and taking with you the riches of what you've cultivated so far. And that's an energy going on in us all the time. More is possible for you than you can imagine. More is possible for all of us, for our communities, for our planet than we can imagine right now, because God in us, with which we are deeply connected, is always more. So let's take that into prayer for a moment and affirm that high truth on this special Easter day. The resurrecting, renewing power of God in us makes more possible than we can ever imagine. And that's true in our lives now and always. Always has been, always will be. We are directly connected to the source of new life. We affirm that truth for ourselves this morning, for all those in our community, for living beings across the globe, and for our beautiful planet itself. Thank you, God, for your living presence in our midst. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Now we have another fun song from Linda and Joel. And this is the one we participated in a little bit, right? I was there when the Spirit came.
Felt the glory and felt the love. I was there
Thank you, Linda and Joel, for that terrific song. Yeah, thank you for letting us add a little harmony on it. It was fun to do, and you guys did a great job with your recordings. We're going to close out in a moment, but they have one more special little Easter song for us. So even after we do the prayer for protection, hang in there a minute or two for their for their third song special for this day. But want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank Joe as always for his recording help, his video recording, his his music, all the support he lends every week and all through the week. Preparing for this, so I know I express your gratitude out there as well. And thank you all for your support all through the year, keeping the church going. We're keeping our building going, of course, too, in hopes of gathering there sometime over the summer. We would sure like to do that. I'm beginning to think about maybe there's a way we could do that outside from here and there, but we'll watch what the news brings us and hope to do that. And we'll keep each other in prayer. So let's affirm together our prayer for protection and then stay tuned. But let's close out in the usual way. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well. And so it is. Thank you all for joining us. And stay tuned for one more song from Linda and Joel. Bless you.
Here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the bunny trail. Hippity hoppity, Easter's on its way. Bringing every girl and boy baskets full of Easter joy, things to make your Easter bright and gay. He's got jelly beans for Tommy, colored eggs for Sister Sue. There's an orchid for your mommy and an Easter bonnet too. Here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the bunny trail. Hippity hoppity,